Hello. Hey, Kim. All right. I'm going to make this fast. So, I wanted to take some time today to talk about how to magically answer any interview question that's ever thrown at you. A lot of times people try to prepare for interviews by just, trying to go by the questions. And I always tell people, the best way is to create your examples and make sure your examples are the ones that's actually going to help you answer any question, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So first of all, thank you. I've never really gone live before, but I thought this would be a great time to do it. I'm Latoya Pearson. I created the 7 steps transition, really helping people understanding how they can better prepare for interviews, as well as how to nail their interviews and land their dream jobs. So let me give you a little backstory on the magic, is what some of my clients call it, is magic. Is I was preparing for an interview myself, and this was probably about 8 years ago, and I just was all over the place with my techniques and how I was going about it, to the point of getting into the interview. Even though I had prepared for hours and hours and hours, I was in the interview and still found myself stuck in certain situations. So I took it upon myself to do a little research and figure out what's the best way to enter into an interview and literally be able to answer any and every question possible that's thrown at you. So this is kind of how this technique evolved. So the first thing you do, I'm going to tell you now, this is like game changer stuff, I'm telling you, because once you actually figure out how to do it, then literally every interview you go into, you'll never get stuck again. So the first thing you do, you're going to Google interview questions related to that particular job. So if you're in technology, you may, or that particular industry. So if you're in technology, you may want to say, hey, I'm, most common interview questions for this particular position, or even in this industry. So you Google those. A lot of times Google's going to give you top 40 this, top 50 that, and that's fine. Because what you're going to do, you're going to click on those links and you're going to read those questions. Read every question. But what you're doing is you read one question and then you write down the first thing that comes to mind when you read that question, literally, and then you move on to the next one. So hopefully what you'll have is you're reading questions and it's jogging your memory. You're like, oh shoot, man, I didn't think about that. I wasn't thinking that. Because when you're preparing for an interview, you got all these other things going on that you use this model to just jog your memory and help you think of different situations you've been in before that you just forgot about, that you're not thinking of. Even positions you've had in the past years ago, and it was a situation that happened, you can use that because that's a part of your experience. So after you go through, I say go through 40, 50, 60 questions even, because all you're doing, you're reading the question, you're just writing it down. Just writing down the first thing that comes to mind. What'd you say, Kim? I would love to share with clients. Oh, okay. I will get it to you. Yes, ma'am. So when you're reading those questions and you're like, all right, that's, dealing with a difficult person. All right, that's when I worked at job X and it was employee X, and then you move on. So hopefully when you're done, if you've read 60 questions, when you're done, hopefully you have a list of at least 20 to 25 examples. And remember, these are examples you can use in your industry, in your particular, maybe even in that particular job title. So hopefully you've hit the competencies as well. So if it's a job that requires you to, from a communication standpoint, so you have to communicate verbally, internal, external, all of that. So you may want to Google those types of interview questions. I know some companies have really stepped it up with their interview game, and so they ask these weird questions that they don't even know the answer to. So very strategic and that sort of thing. So what I would say in those situations is, I'll give you an example. One of the examples was, I can't remember which company it was, but they asked a question like, hey, how long would it take you to drive from Seattle to New York City? If you've never driven from Seattle to New York City, likely you're not going to know. And most of the time when they ask that question, they don't know either. But the point is, it's not about if you know the answer. They want to see how you're thinking about it, right? So you may say, I don't know exactly, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's, what, 10, 12, I don't know, 15 states in between there. If it takes me, talk about something that you're familiar with. So I know it takes me 7 hours to get from North Carolina to Florida. I'm just thinking, hey, maybe it'll take me, 7 to get halfway or something like that. So you just got to let them know your thought process to how you're going to get there. They're not looking for a right answer. They just want to see how do you break down information to get to at least something, right? So that's one thing you want to be prepared for. But at the end of the day, if you get behavioral based questions, if you're able to create that example box, that is exactly what you need to go into an interview and never get stuck again. Okay, so read those questions, Google them, and be very specific on Google. If I'm in sales, if I'm interviewing for a sales rep position with a company, I don't know, a food company, I may go in and be very specific and say, okay, what are some common questions that I'll be asked from a sales standpoint? Use your experience. If you have, an engineering background, what are the most common engineering questions out there? If you have whatever that is. So that way you're very specific to your industry, and nothing should surprise you in the interview. So when you're done, and I'm telling you, my clients literally call this magic, because they get into an interview and now they have what I call an example box, and I'll show you what it looks like. And they can choose from, like, when you're in the interview, make you a little, index card, or, I mean, now that it's virtual, you can literally just have something on the side. So you can do that too. That's an option. But in the interview, and this is what it looks like. I hope you can see this. It may be backwards, but for my Facebook people, that's kind of what it looks like. Instagram people, this is what it looks like. So you would literally have a list of your examples. So as you're sitting in the interview, they ask you a question. The first thing you do, you're going to write it down. Write the question down, or write down the key words in the question. Questions say, tell me about a time you had to, go above and beyond to achieve a goal. All right, cool. So you write down above and beyond to achieve a goal. You then look at your list of examples and you're like, oh, okay, I can use this example number 4 here that, that had happened on job number X. And then you start talking. And it's okay if you say, hey, give me a few seconds, so I can choose the best example to answer your question. That's fine too. You can definitely say that, okay? And keep in mind that you want to be sure you're answering the question. So don't just pick any example on the list. When you go through that Google or those lists of 50 or 60 questions, when you're jotting down your list or making your list, you're going to find that a lot of your examples can answer multiple questions. And that's the thing. You want that. That means your experience has legs, and you can talk about certain things and different skill sets just using one example. That's a great thing. You just have to learn how to tweak that example to answer the question. So that's what I mean by, don't just look at the example and be like, all right, I'm going to say this example. Know the key details within that example that's going to answer the question. So even though it's a great example, you're like, yep, this is a really good example. You can say that, but make sure you're actually answering the question. So, Ashley, good list of examples is good advice. Yes, Yes, that's another HR expert there, Miss Ashley Rencher. Thank you, Ashley. Yes, yes, a list of examples so you never get stuck. And literally, I've had clients do that. They have told me that this was like the magic in their interview is having this list to show people that or to having this list to show yourself that you can make it through an interview. You can answer any question like that, especially if you prepared for that particular job and industry. So there should be nothing they throw at you that you're not prepared for because you've Googled those questions, you have an answer or some type of example to answer the question. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. The last thing I'll say is you can organize your examples in by skills or competencies. So you can organize it and say, okay, all of these examples deal with dealing with a difficult person. All of these examples shows how I was able to overcome a challenge or exceed a goal, or these, talk to my proactiveness and me taking initiative. So you may want to break it up like that. That way, when those keywords are said in an interview, you're already like, oh, let me go to my initiative, my list, because you just said, tell me about a time where I had to, take the initiative to do something. Oh, okay. Well, let me look at my list of initiatives, examples, and which one would fit better. So that is something that also is very helpful because when you're in the interview, you are nervous. You got all these things going on. You're like, oh my goodness. But if you actually take the time to list them out like that, I think you'll be good to go. So thank you. I just wanted to share that with you today. I share these things often. I'll do this more. I'm not a live person, but I will try to do it more because I just like to be sure I'm sharing information. So if you have any questions or anything, reach out to myself, 7steptransition.com. You can also join our Facebook group, The Mastery of Interviewing. If you'd like, we're going to be sharing a lot of videos in there as well. So thank you. Y'all have a great Friday. Happy holidays. Job skills they want. Yes. So listen, I'm gonna get Ashley on live with me. She is a HR professional on this Facebook one, so she's like, use this list to help answer job skills that they want, right? So there's a lot of different things that you could use the list for, but either way, it's definitely something that's going to be very helpful to you. Definitely helps you kind of stand out amongst the crowd too, because you're going to look way more prepared, way more prepared. So all right, have a great Friday, and I will talk to you soon. Now I don't know how to end this. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, Instagram. I don't know how to end this yet. Oh, very helpful. You're welcome. Oh, I didn't see these. Oh, okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Y'all have a good Friday.